Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
A wizard is never linked. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for July. I know. It's like the summer's here. It's quite sad actually, because we actually crossed into the part of the summer where the days start to get shorter again because we've passed the equinox. So, you just have to get on with things. In some ways you can't. You have to just seize the initiative. I would say in many ways you just can't wait. So with that in mind, there's only one thing to do. If you can't wait, don't wait. But get Pete Waite on the show.
Okay.
It's terrible. It's potentially the 47th worst introduction that I've done. But hey Pete, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Richard. I'm good. Yeah.
I'm actually delighted. I'm beside myself that you're on because this is one of those things where it's like you don't have a game to talk about. You don't have a Kickstarter project to talk about. You don't have anything to promote. You're just on here to have a chat because, first of all, big thank you for continuing to listen to my stupid ramblings, and now you'll be 5 minutes in, you'll be going, oh, why did I say I was going to come on? But you've been a listener for a while, and surprisingly enough, I think we've been talking kind of on and off, and I think the major kind of thing was the Frank West episode, the robot voice episode, where he just said,
yes.
He just says, I can't listen to this, it's too robot voicey, and I was like that. I sent you a message saying, I'm really, really sorry, we did what we could do. And then that kind of moved on from there, and then we've been talking and trying to get this scheduled in, and finally, you are here.
We're here.
You're here?
Yeah.
So how are you?
I'm good. That was a great intro, by the way. I've not heard that at all. Ever. No one's ever used my name like that before. Ever.
I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I'm pretty sure that wasn't true. Brought up in kind of primary school, if not nursery.
If not before, yeah. My parents must have had a tremendous sense of humour. Because they gave me the middle name Barnaby.
Wow.
Which is in its own right bordering on abuse, but having the middle initial B doesn't really help when your surname's Waite, because as soon as you start doing chemistry at school, you learn that the chemical symbol for lead is PB.
Yes.
So there I was, PB Waite. Lead weight. So I was set up from a very early age, I think.
Set up for life. Set up to be a fall. Did you become the class comedian from then? Is that when you kind of first discovered your roots of making people laugh by just writing your name on the blackboard and just going, look, it's funny, but then having to explain about the chemical kind of symbol for?
No, I think the humour as a defence thing probably started there. And I've been defending myself avidly since then, really.
I think think you just have to continue to do that. I think as soon as I spoke to you, I think there's a number of things we have to discuss where I want you to kind of, I need you to defend yourself. In fact, it was almost like you wanted to do this because you sent me, and I'm going to hold you to high esteem for this because nobody else has done this so far, which is to actually send me a list of things that you have done. Everybody else that comes on the show, they expect me to kind of look at their Twitter feed and look at their social media and find out about them and their business and their creativity and stuff like that. You, sir, put together a CV. And it's a cracking one as well. It's an actual cracking one. I guess we should do like the proper kind of admin stay and say, for people that haven't heard the show for the first time, thank you for coming along. The reason that we do this is because it's almost at episode 300, and if I stop now, it's just rude. And also I like doing it. And if you like doing something, and as long as it isn't illegal, then you just keep on doing it. And the second reason is, as I say, me and Pete have been talking kind of back and forward for a little while now, and I've been trying to get him on the show, and it's just been organising it, and now he's on, so we're going to have a chat. So you're born in Devon.
Yeah.
But you stay in kind of Nottingham now. So did you spend most of your young life kind of in Devon? Was that kind of like your stomping ground? Kind of
Absolutely, yeah. Born in Tiverton, which was probably still is the dead centre of Devon. Emphasis on the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent 18 years there, essentially, till I fell out of the back end of school, having failed my A-levels.
All right.
I managed to find a job up in Coventry, which was, bizarrely, it was a company that were advertising for A-level failures.
Oh, okay.
Which was great. It was quite clever of them, really, because they were looking for people who just weren't very good at exams, but had the sort of savvy to do a job, sort of thing. So I took to that. Was in Coventry for several years, and then the job moved to Nottingham, and that's where I've been. So
you said telecoms. So you must have seen a change. I mean, is this software? Software kind of hardware tuned to software? Because if I remember, I suppose if we say 30, 40 odd years in telecoms, and this was I saw on Twitter recently saying that time is a strange thing because 1970 was like 50 years ago now. Basically, almost. Yeah. So you are kind of looking at, you're looking at the beginning of the 80s where it's like kind of start of privatisation and stuff like that. BT going to getting sold and everything kind of along those lines. So were you working with them, or were you working for kind of like still working for the private company at the time?
Well, yeah, I was working for GEC, General Electric Company, in the private telephone exchange side of it. So companies bought their telephone exchanges from BT, and we made both GEC and a company called Plessy made the two main suppliers into BT, and it was like almost like a blank check every year. They come back, and all the company had to do was say, "How many do you want this year?"
Really,
and then Margaret Thatcher turned up, and everything was deregulated, privatised, and open to competition, and that was the beginning of the end, really, for that side of the business. And then sort of technology moved on as well, and we've been, been redundant for the last 3 years, but up until that point, we were sort of riding the technology wave from the early days for the sort of electromechanical telephone exchanges right through to the voice over IP, like we're doing here, Skype sort of deal.
So you actually kind of picking me up on whether how good or how bad I am at using this type of software, and are you going to kind of mark me out of 10 at the end?
I wouldn't dream of that.
And say your career levels and stuff like that.
No, nothing like that. So you won't get that from me.
I mean, when it comes to kind of like, because you say you do listen to kind of like a few podcasts. Then do you ever look at them from a kind of a technical point of view? Then do you ever kind of look at them from, oh, what's wrong with this one? What's wrong with that one? Kind of thing.
I am very aware of the various problems that certain podcasters appear to have with. I commented on it in a post about watching the levels.
Yeah.
Which is something that you're very good at doing. But other people, you can have one side of the conversation is really quiet and then the guest is incredibly loud. I try to listen to I don't try to. I mostly listen to podcasts in the car when I have time to listen to them. And I can't be riding the volume knob in the car while I'm supposed to be driving. And that's why I had that problem with that particular Frank West episode because he was suddenly barking very loudly occasionally. It was blowing my speakers out. So. He
said at the time it was because he was in the middle of moving house and he didn't have his kind of normal setup going. And we were both confused because he was filming a lot of YouTube videos at the time and his sound was always crystal clear. And then I think he actually said at the time on the episode, we got kind of like 35 minutes in because I think these levels are just like all over the place. He says, I don't know how bad this is going to be. And I was like, it'll be fine. And then of course I played it back and it's one of these things where you're like, it's like the whole thing about podcasting is that if you become complacent at it, it's that one time that you become complacent at it that you that's when it all goes to pot and you end up with an episode that you've got like spend 5 or 6 hours trying to piece together and kind of edit kind of properly. With relation to you in the hobby, because obviously we've got to mention, we can't just talk about, playing trumpet in the Albert Hall, but we will get around to it. I mean, how did you first kind of cut your teeth on the hobby? Kind of what kind of first kind of got you involved?
I guess it goes back to the family days of playing games. Had an older brother, obviously mum and dad, and we had various roll and move games, but we didn't actually have a copy of Monopoly. So my dad made one for us. Completely from scratch, made the board, hand wrote all the cards, cut out blank cards and hand wrote all the property cards out, all the chance, community chest things. I sent you a photo in my.
You did send me a photo. This thing is just. Yeah. This thing is absolutely amazing. It is pretty much going to be the cover photo for the episode. I've decided already because it's like the dedication. The dedication to this is outstanding, and people are going to go, "Oh yeah, how good is it?" And it's like the money alone, the length of time, because it's not just a case. It's not like it's actually the colours of paper match. Hello? The colours of paper actually match the proper colours, or it looks like they match the proper colours. The colours are just fantastic. And it's the attention to detail on the artwork as well, because it looks like he's gone in and actually drawn the individual lines for all the money and all the individual properties and everything like that. Do you still have the set?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I took that photo when I knew I was coming on the show. It's upstairs. Yeah. The hotels and houses were just sort of Lego pieces. Uh-huh. So he didn't actually handcraft the components, but I think he would have, because he was the sort of guy that would go that extra mile to make something really good.
Where did he get all the information from then? Did he borrow somebody else's set and then?
Yes, yeah, he did. He borrowed a work colleague's copy. And, I'm sure there's a Waddington's lawyer somewhere and is sharpening his pencil, thinking, "Aha! Somebody's pirated a copy of this game." So.
I'm sure you're giving your money back. I'm sure you've probably bought. I mean, is it I mean, I mean, I am, as I say, you're going to see a picture of this when you listen to the episode, because it's going to be on, like, it's going to be the artwork for the show notes, basically, because it does look absolutely fantastic. But were you playing this kind of all the time then?
We did play it a lot, yeah, because we didn't have a Kallax full of games back then. We just really had that. And then moved on to things like Cluedo, and there were other games which, because I got quite fascinated by the concept of board games from that point, and we started looking at games that were not so linear, not like just moving around a track. There was a game called Mine a Million. I don't know if you've ever saw that. It's quite old.
It rings a bell.
We still got it. But it was a game where you basically produced material at your mine, and then transported it to where you could sell it. It was a sort of pick up and deliver type sort of game. But there was more than one way to go, which is what attracted us. There was another game called Exploration, which I think was also Waddington's, which you move around the outside track to sort of get your equipment for your expedition, and then you moved into the centre, which was just an open world sort of grid, and it had a peculiar dice, which wasn't 1 to 6. It had icons on the side to represent different sorts of moves in the world area in the middle of the map, and that really sparked your imagination as a youngster playing games like that.
With your dad copying, not inventing Monopoly, but copying Monopoly, did that lead you to kind of start making stuff yourself on occasion? Were you there with like a pair of scissors and some PVA glue and some felt tips and making up your occasional kind of own versions of games? Or?
Yeah, we did a little bit of that. My brother, who was a bit older than me, he was more into Dungeons and Dragons and that side of it, which was obviously a lot more creative in terms of imagination, if you like. But I had a summer and after school job at a local fruit and veg shop, so I tried to make a game out of the process of selling fruit and veg, which was absolutely terrible, as per your infamous tweet. But it was my first attempt at a game. And I think it was inspired by that Monopoly effort by my dad. And I think I've sort of carried on that kind of concept of if you can think of something, you can probably make it.
Did you have a lot of money growing up then? Was it quite a tight kind of family in terms of...
yeah. There was not very much money at all around, to be honest. Mum was working 2 jobs, so I mean we weren't badly off. It wasn't a handful of gravel for breakfast and all that sort of stuff. It was
you had a handful. You were lucky.
You tell the kids today. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean we weren't horribly off, but we weren't sort of buying stuff whenever we wanted it either.
I don't know. I think it's the same. A lot of people I know growing up, everybody was the same, but you kind of made do at the time. I think, you know what I noticed, and this is going to make me sound old, and I was discussing this a couple of weeks ago with the guys in the office, is that we don't fix a lot of stuff nowadays. You know, I remember, and the other thing we joked about up in Scotland in Glasgow time, there was you had like radio rentals, but you also had a Scottish kind of TV rental company called Glenn's, Hutchison's, Robertson's and Stepek, and they used to get the advert on the telly, which was, and it used to be like, they used to have silver right, and it used to go, Glenn's, Hutchison's, Robertson's and Stepek, and you can rent this, and it was like 21-inch full colour TV, and it had the buttons. You could tell it was posh because the buttons were kind of like a silver plastic, and it actually had BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and then the really better ones had Channel 4 on there as well. And you could click the buttons and stuff like that. And it used to get like TV repair guys coming out, and I remember I don't know about you, but I remember our telly breaking and them getting a TV repair guy to come out and actually look at it and go, "Oh, look, the valve's gone." The guy coming in,
absolutely.
The guy coming in and repairing the valve. And we're just like thinking about that is, if that was nowadays, people kind of like, I've seen people kind of dump stuff that is kind of like they're dumping it because they've got a newer one, not because the other one's kind of broken. And I've just aged myself by about 20 years, but.
Well, no, we had the very similar experience with the televisions back in the day, because the first one you had to tune with a dial. It was before the pre-selected buttons, but each of those buttons was a tuner, wasn't it? So you could tune that to like a preset. So,
preset it, and then you press the button in. But yeah, I remember that because when my great aunt, she had a small black and white TV in her bedroom, and she had one in her living room. When she passed away, me and my brother got these TVs, and you had to dial them. So at the time, this is like nostalgia hour on the show, but at the time, Rice Krispies were doing these sticker sets. So that every pack, there was like a sticker that was full of like all letters of the alphabet, just for you to make stuff up and things like that. So you used to have the little tiny stickers, and we used to place them round the dials where you could find all the various channels. So you couldn't kind of lose them. That was the kind of the way. When you were doing your days of your courting and stuff like that, did the board games go to one side? I mean, did you continue kind of rolling while you were spooning, I guess?
No. I think the fascination with board games took a huge break when I had to move from Devon up to the Midlands to work. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the time I was playing games with my friends in Devon or with the family. Mm-hmm. And when I moved to Coventry, it was all sort of a different set, and nobody was playing board games. So we were all sort of, like you say, discovering other things like beer and so on, other pastimes.
Like playing trumpet.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean that again was something that took a break when I left Tiverton, because my glory days of playing the trumpet at the Albert Hall was by virtue of the guy that ran the Tiverton Youth Orchestra.
All right,
and he hired the Royal Albert Hall for his little local orchestra to play in.
Really?
Yeah. So we got, I think it was five coaches worth of orchestra and family and friends, and we drove up there and took over the place for a few hours in an afternoon.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You sent me the actual program. Here you go. And I've seen you. You're in the trumpet section.
Well, it's not actually the program. It's the sleeve of a vinyl record.
Okay.
You remember those?
I think we're going to lose the young crowd here. They're going to be saying, "Well, so how do you get, how many MP3s do you get in an album then?" It's like, you don't. They're made out of vinyl. So how does that work then? Is that a fashion thing? It's like, no. But then again, if you think about it, a lot of the younger folk are like, "Oh, you should see these vinyl albums you get in Tesco's, because they've started selling vinyl again. So you can buy it all."
They're back, yeah. You know? For some bizarre reason, people seem to think it's good. Yeah. Which, I mean, I've got 2 shelves of albums in the next room that I bought back in the sort of 70s onwards. They're all, each one of them is absolutely knackered, because I didn't take care of them. They're covered in scratches, and it's a terrible medium for. If you think about it, you're scratching very delicate grooves into a bendy plastic thing that doesn't like heat, and you sort of play it once and it's already ruined.
Yeah, I know. But it's meant to be warm. It's meant to be warm, though. I mean, that's what people love about it. Everybody talks about the warm sound of vinyl.
Yeah, well, my ears don't really pick. I mean, I know that a really good system does sound fantastic, but a really good system with a high quality digital file sounds fantastic as well. So it's not for me. I can't be doing with that.
Did you not have the separates?
I did have back in the day, but as soon as CDs came out, I was sort of transformed a little bit. I got a portable CD player and never really bothered with the home hi-fi after that.
Are you still play? Would you go back to the trumpet? Have you gone back to the trumpet? Have you gone past the kind of like, the old music shops, or occasionally for some reason, like, used to get them in cash generator and stuff like that. Used to see in a window an old trumpet used to kind of like turn up. Were you ever tempted to go back in and kind of delve back in again?
No. It was it took a lot of practice. I mean, I only got to grade. I can't remember what I got to. Grade 5 or something. It wasn't, and it was great fun, but I wasn't serious enough about practicing to keep it up. And of course, these days, if I want a trumpet sound, I just load it into the keyboard, and there it is. So,
you got a keyboard now, have you?
Oh gosh, yes. I've dabbled in the music side of things quite a lot. So I've amassed a small arsenal of weapons against proper music.
Because, and this is a quick aside, when Jake was on the show,
yes,
and we did a whole thing about hip hop, and then you went and kind of dropped this track into my inbox, and did a full kind of like turned it into a rap battle. Which sounded absolutely fantastic, and you had all the beats and stuff like that. I was just like, I just might as well go home. There's no point.
Yeah, that was completely out of my comfort zone. That was. I don't know what it was about you that inspired me to do that. But
I've no idea, because it like completely. Because like I remember speaking to Jake on DMs and just saying, look, Pete sent me a track, and he's like, what? He's just saying, what? And I was like, yeah, I'll send it to you. And he's come back and he's going, he's got bars. And I was like, yeah, he has. He says, I'm gonna have to step up my game here. And then obviously we sent our stuff to Jake, and he then came across with this ridiculous kind of follow up, blow us out the water kind of rap track.
It is Wimbledon season, and that was a real smash from him, wasn't it? He put the ball into Road J. We weren't going to get that.
Exactly. That's us like thinking that we're Bjorn Borg and like Jimmy Connor or whatever, and he's rocking up with Novak Djokovic. And we're just going, okay, then we'll have a seat, we'll sit down, like kind of good guys. In terms of like the games that you're playing now, is it easy to keep up with it? Is it easy to kind of keep up with the scene? I mean, do you generally stick with a couple of games, or are you, obviously with the advent of social media being the way that it is, it's kind of like the new hotness. What's this week's kind of new hotness? Are you quite selective about the kind of the games that you would get and bring to the table? Or are you quite a collector?
I'm not really a collector, no. I mean, I do all of my gaming with my lady wife. So we're very similar to Rado and Jennifer Ham. Richard and Jennifer, they play only really play 2-player games, and not much of a take that component to it. So we tend to seek out games that are well suited for us in that score. But I do keep up with what's happening, because I think it was a couple of years ago when we really started getting back into playing board games because of our son-in-law He'd been watching Will Wheaton's tabletop show, and he sort of mentioned that he quite liked playing board games, so we started playing with them, and suddenly sort of became aware of all the other games that were around. And in particular, my wife had a conversation with somebody on a train on the way to work, and they found out about cooperative games, which we'd never really heard of before.
No.
So we got into the sort of Forgotten Island, Forgotten Desert series of games. And that sort of opened our eyes to things like Catan and Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, and that sort of thing. So we sort of bought all of those.
Mm.
But then sort of started to pay attention to podcasts. And that's where we discovered Your Good Self and one or two others. And through that, I really sort of keep up to date with what's going on. I didn't have a Board Game Geek account until then. And we sort of, we're fairly selective. We don't just buy stuff to see what it's like. We sort of do the research first. And we sort of dipped a toe into Kickstarter, again, because of you. With you were talking.
I'm feeling a lot of blame.
Yeah.
I'm feeling currently a lot of blame, and I'm just telling you right now, right? There's no guilt coming back the way.
No, quite right too.
You know?
You had Dylan from Quality Beast on talking about Seize the Bean.
Yes.
And we really got quite excited about that. So we did our first ever Kickstarter campaign for that. Still waiting for it. It was meant to be around October last year.
I'm just kind of I'm kind of worried that I'm going to have to send it back and ask for a warm one. when it kind of turns up.
But in the meantime, we sort of backed Microbrew again because you spoke to somebody.
Nigel.
And Tiny Epic Tactics. We've got coming. Both of those might arrive before Seize the Bean finally does. But looking forward to it.
Is it strange to kind of like be backing on stuff that you've not got? It sounds to me like if you're as you say, you don't sound to me like the type of people that will just let's go and buy this game so we've got it on the shelf because we have it because we know it's good. You sound like the type of person that we're going to put the money down on this if we know we're actually going to play it, because otherwise it is pretty much a waste of money unless the kind of like the family come round and we decide to kind of play it instead.
Yeah, indeed. You can pick up a lot from the Kickstarter campaign and all the comments and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really a blind purchase, but you do wonder if you'll still be excited about it when it arrives.
Is there certain things that attract you on the campaign? Is the co-op, is the co-op element, I take it, as one of the main things? Is there stuff on Kickstarter you maybe would never have actually picked up at retail?
Well, yeah, there's plenty of stuff on there we wouldn't really pick up, but it's I think what really attracts me particularly more is it's the sort of artworks, not so much the art, but the iconography. I remember a long time ago lusting after a copy of Escape from Colditz.
Yes.
The infamously repackaged game, which had a lot of iconography in it. There was a lot of graphical stuff in the game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything to do with the gameplay that attracted me. It was all the stuff in the box.
Yeah.
The board and the cards and all that sort of stuff. So I am quite drawn to nicely presented games. We recently got Teotihuacan, City of the Gods.
Steve loves that game. He's constantly trying to get me to play it, and it's like, and you put it on the board, and it's kind of like, struck me as a little bit Mahjong-y, just in the presentation with all the tiles and stuff like that. Obviously, it doesn't play like Mahjong in any way, shape, or form, but I looked at it and I really liked its presentation, and it looks fun. I take it as excellent to play because I've heard nothing but really good things about it.
Absolutely, yeah, it is great.
Have you ended up kind of getting more involved in not just playing them, but getting kind of more involved in the kind of the hobby yourself, in terms of actually starting to kind of do things, take action, kind of things like that?
Yeah, a little bit. Because as I mentioned earlier on, I was made redundant 3 years ago, so I've been at a little bit of a loose end. Just operating a spousal taxi to take my wife to work and back, which doesn't pay very well, but
better not let her hear that.
I'm looking for the daggers. I think I'm safe.
Yeah, it's alright, you'll be fine. As long as she doesn't listen to the show. And you could just say, "Oh no, sorry, honey, the file got corrupted, and unfortunately he's not been able to hear it. It just keeps on. Every time I try and download it, it keeps just getting deleted. Especially round about the image, round about the 38 minute mark, just completely goes. No idea what's wrong."
But to get back to the question, hastily, the spare time that I've got now let me sort of pay a bit more attention to some of the campaigns. So I've managed to get a little bit involved with the Welcome to Dino World. Campaign, just in terms of play testing and proofreading the rulebook, which was a very interesting process, because there was a little bit of a back and forth with Cesar and the guys, just on the mechanics of the game, which was a fascinating process. I really enjoyed that.
Did it make you want to kind of get involved with other things? I mean, because I know that from a lot of designers' point of view, I mean, Petter at Trumpets Games was just saying, "Hey, does anybody want to reread, look over the rule book for Donning the Purple?" And I think there's a lot of guys out there that would appreciate, having their games, the rule books kind of looked over.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I wouldn't mind doing, but obviously it'd be quite nice to monetize it, and that's when it starts to get difficult. Because obviously nobody's hiring a pedant these days, are they?
Yeah. It's kind of getting that fine line between it becoming a favour to it becoming, well, actually I've spent kind of 8.5 hours on this. Is there any way you can kind of help contribute towards my time, seeing as I, found that glaring error that would have otherwise broken the game. I'm not saying anything. But you kind of go. But you sit, you put in the notes that you've been writing articles for the Board Game Crate kind of newsletter as well.
That's a very tiny thing, really. But there's been two articles accepted so far, which wasn't really something I was planning on doing. But we were subscribers at the time, and they put out a call for people to write articles. So I just fired up Word, and before I knew it, I had 500 words in front of me. I thought, well, I'll send that over and see what they think. And there it was, accepted. So that was quite fun.
Would you like to do more stuff then? Would you like to kind of get more involved? If people are listening along tonight, and we do get a fair number of kind of like the creative types out there, is it something you would like to get kind of more involved in, with like the rules, play testing, things like that?
Yeah, To a certain extent, I think so, yeah. Obviously, I'm not really involved in it that much, so I'm not sure what kind of Pandora's box you'd be opening by saying, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Well, if you're listening now, obviously, as we said, Pete is, he's sitting around. Send him all your rule books, give him money, and he'll guarantee that he'll make them look absolutely fantastic. I'm saying this with my fingers crossed, kind of. Obviously, you did the centerpieces, which I'm looking at just now, for your daughter's wedding. So you're quite creative.
Indeed, I like to think so. Yeah.
I mean, I'm really struggling to decide whether now to put the picture of the Monopoly up or put the picture of these centerpieces in as well, because they both look kind of fantastic. Do you go ahead? Do you ever pimp up your board games then? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, I do tend to go a little bit over the top if there's a print and play around. Because there have been one or two, but like the early versions of Dino World were print and play things. So I was printing the cards double-sided and laminating them and rounding the corners on them, and making it all a bit better than it really needed to be.
It's kind of like people are going to see that and go, "Where'd you get that from? Is that the deluxe version?" It's like, no. I just did that myself. I'd love to see what you would do with something like Terraforming Mars.
Well, to be honest, I've never played it, so I don't know which side of the Richard Simpson burn all copies.
I'm not saying burn all of the copies, because people need to be able to learn from their past mistakes. You need to be able to stay. I don't, it's not. It's like I'm going to get like Stephen Bonacore still after me. He knows where I live now, so it's like, it's only a matter of time before I kind of get, smacked round the back of the head with some big kind of, they find kind of orangey brown kind of paint flecks in the back of my skull where it was cleaved. Not if they use the tableau boards though, because then I'll just get a paper cut. Boom tish. So there you go. But there's a market for that. I mean, I've seen people that offer kind of like pimped up components on. They offer them on Etsy or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They've seen them on kind of.
Sorry, yeah, I had. We had the game Photosynthesis.
Yes.
In one of our board game crate boxes that came through. And it's absolutely stunning, the look of the game. But there was a tiny mechanical issue with some of the trees. They were like a two-part cardboard trees that you slot together. And they stand up really nicely. But I think it was the blue ones were particularly prone to not fitting together very tightly.
Yeah.
So you go to pick it up and you'd end up holding half of it, and the other half would have fallen out the bottom. So I made some little cardboard crosses to glue onto the bottom of the trees to hold them together, and posted a picture on BGG. And there was one or two people who expressed an interest in buying them.
Wow.
So I went through the process of trying to figure out how to list something like that on Board Game Geek, and it proved to be a bit too onerous to get a listing together. But there is a market for some stuff like that. But when you look into it, there's people 3D printing all kinds of component improvements and things. It's not an empty market. There's lots of people out there doing it.
I think there'd be nothing nicer than a bit of handmade stuff. Something that has had a little bit of kind of TLC to it. Not that I'm saying 3D printing stuff isn't just a case of, there's a lot of work that goes into that. Yeah. But, I couldn't think of anything cooler than maybe a fully pimped out, like, Everdell tree from that game. It just kind of sits at the side. I mean, that would be pretty cool. And I mean, joking aside, while I do adore Terraforming Mars, I really like all the little kind of, when they're doing kind of like the biodomes and, everything like that. I've seen a fully pimped up version of that a couple of times online, and it does look really, really cool, and it can add a kind of a lot of additional stuff to the kind of the game,
Yeah, I saw somebody done sort of 3D tiles for Gloomhaven.
Oh, wow.
Which really made the rooms look like rooms. It was really nice stuff, but obviously it's such a massive game, and we do have Gloomhaven. We've got about 10 or 12 scenarios into it, and I can't imagine adding setup time to it.
No,
having to build the rooms first.
I'm sure there would be some people that would just have it kind of laid out on the table, kind of ready to go. I'm pretty sure that there are people that's what they do on a week by week basis. They just have
a Gloomhaven room.
Gloomhaven, or something like Kingdom Death Monster, or even their D&D campaign. They've kind of got them laid out in a big, huge kind of tile kind of setup. I know that. I mean, there's. This seems to be kind of like the secondary market now, where you get like a game and people are like, well, I kind of like what I'm doing, but I'd like to make it kind of all kind of shiny and nice and wonderful and kind of new. So what we're also saying here is if you want additional shiny stuff for your board games, then obviously send your ideas to Pete. And some money, yeah. And it's, do you know what I mean? It could be called "Pimp Your Games While You Wait." Except genius. Obviously a shorter name that's a bit more catchier and not as rubbish as what I've kind of just said. Are there games you'd want to get your hands on? I mean, is there anything? I know you say you're quite selective with the games that you play. But there are games that you currently would say, well, actually, I'd just like to kind of have this one just to kind of have it and just to kind of muck about and then just have it kind of thing.
Well, there's always a wish list of games. It's never short of games that you want to get hold of.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure about Wingspan, to be honest. But I am warming to it quite a lot. I would quite like to get hold of that.
Yeah, Wingspan's quite funny, because I've heard it's kind of like, I'm starting to hear people going, oh, it's not as good as it is, and I'm still hearing people saying it's one of the best games I've kind of like played in a long time. And I don't know if people were kind of getting it because it was the brand new hotness, and not because they were sitting down and having a calculated kind of, do I like this type of game? Is this going to be suitable for me and my group? They've kind of went, oh, Wingspan, I can get it here. And they've got a copy. And then they've played it and they've had a little bit of buyer's regret because it maybe wasn't the kind of game that they should have been, that they would normally play anyway,
Yeah. I've heard that it's not a particularly gamerly game, if you like.
Yeah.
It's a very accessible game for sort of anyone can learn to play it, sort of thing. But I don't know. I haven't rushed out and bought it. Which I don't know. If money was no object, I'd probably get it. But it's on the list, but it's nowhere near the top. But I'm extremely tight when it comes to buying games as well. I can't bring myself to pay full price for much stuff of anything really. So I'll meticulously research the cheapest place to get things from.
I think that's par for the course. I mean, I've gone as far as companies like Gameslore, for instance. I get their newsletter. And they have an actual damaged stock section. Ding and Denter and other people, they have like damaged stock and Zatu. And occasionally I'll look over it and it's like, and they'll put up a photograph of what the game looks like, and it's like they say, no, it's a slight damaged one, but from the ones I've been sent that they're so-called damaged in inverted commas, they've got like a slight press at the side or something like that. They can't send it out saying it's a brand new copy because it's got a slight scrape on it or a slight dent in it or something like that. And they sell these at kind of like lots of money off. And let's face it, Pete, I mean, we're looking at things that are costing kind of 40, 50 quid a shot. So, you know, in the lower end of the market, I mean, I've seen, I mentioned this before. I mean, it's a chunk of money to be going out. So I know why people are kind of like, I'm pretty selective myself on kind of what I pick up and kind of what I buy, you know.
Yeah, of course. It's we don't have a great deal of disposable income these days.
No.
So our purchase is it's part of the reason why I'm fairly very selective, because I don't really want to buy anything that's just going to sit on the shelf and collect dust.
Exactly.
So
exactly. However, I have a question.
Okay.
Down in Devon, the ultimate argument is broken out between Devon and Cornwall, about the whole jam and scone and cream debate. And in a fit of fury, the residents of Tipperton infect some cream with the zombie plague to force it to their Cornish friends, who can't decide whether to put the jam on top or the cream on top. Unfortunately, the zombie plague infects its way all across and up into England. And you have to escape. And you're trundling away. And you find yourself, you have to escape from this oncoming zombie horde.
Okay, is Ben Maddox driving the taxi?
Ben Maddox is going to kill me for this because we've already had discussions about this, right? But you're not like a designer developer, so it's fine. And you end up in a board game shop, and you've got a choice of any 3 board games. What 3 do you get? And you can have anything at all.
Do you know, I've listened to so many of your shows, you'd think I would have prepared for this question.
Well, I don't always bring the question out because obviously nowadays, as soon as I mention it on an episode, I get a sideways glance from Ben, and I've got to watch out for that.
3 games. Crikey. I think probably grab a copy of Carcassonne. Probably for nostalgic reasons more than anything, because that was one of the first games that we got into.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it would be the big box edition with all the expansions in it, and just for value for money. And then I think we'd probably have to have something like Time Stories.
With
all of the expansions. So
of course.
To play there.
Okay.
And then looks at wife for inspiration. Gets none. I'd probably say Teotihuacan.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it's a game that we've really just scratched the surface of. Although I'm now thinking maybe Caverna.
You have to hurry. The door is getting banged on by these brain-hungry fools.
Covered in poison clotted cream.
Covered in poison clot. It could be blood. It potentially is probably a lovely raspberry jam.
Yep. Getting a hint from the side. 7 Wonders Duel would be probably.
There you go. There you go. So you put them in your trolley, trundle off into the day, getting followed by some kind of ravenous, rebellious scone.
Yeah, and it's the back door of the back door of the car going to fly open as we go?
No. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Come on. There's nothing to do with that. Oh my goodness.
I tried to choose just one.
I don't like this.
That's good.
I don't like this accusation at all. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Completely out of the blue. I wasn't expecting a little nobody like me to get anywhere near. So.
You're one of the reasons why we do the show. You're one of the reasons why everybody does your show. You're potentially, it doesn't matter. I could get like Jamie Stegmaier on the show, but there's no point in having anybody in the show if there's nobody listening. So,
that's true.
You're very, and I really, really appreciate all the support, the kind words, the occasional kind of crass feedback, the shouting, everything like that you've done.
What about the phone calls at 2 a.m?
That's fine. And obviously the hip hop tracks, which are absolutely fantastic. If people want to find you on the internet webs, where do you exist on the internet webs if you want people to find you?
I am on Twitter.
Right.
I go by the name of Pedro_XXL.
There you go. Was that your stripper name before you retired? You never worked in telecoms at all, you chap. You cheeky scamp.
I've blown my cover now.
Who was that? Oiled up and G-stringed up and, getting it down to some a bit of hot chocolate, you sexy thing.
I'm going to have to delete all those photos now.
You're going to have to delete your Twitter account at the end of this.
And on Facebook, just with my real name.
Okay, cool.
But I don't have any websites or anything.
It's fine. Contact Pete. Offer him money to do stuff. That's what we're doing today. If you want to contact me and offer me money to do stuff, depends how much money you want to give us, because I'll do all sorts. And unlike Meatloaf, I might even do that. But if you do want to find us on the internet web, you can go to, just search for We're Not Wizards. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and our website and our blog. And you'll find us on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast catchers which don't have pod or don't have cast in them, things like Spotify, And if you like what you've listened to tonight, there's a couple of things you can do. Tell somebody else, anybody else, even people you like or people you don't like, doesn't matter. But the other thing you can do is you go to Apple Podcasts and drop us a subscription and drop us a rating or a review. And remember, don't give us 10 stars because that will make us big-headed. But don't give us 1 star because that'll make us cry. And Pete's seen what I look like, and he knows I'm an ugly crier. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not been average tonight is the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic. He's the trumpet-playing, homemade Monopoly, centrepiece making star. He may make you hesitate, but he won't make you wait. It's Pete Waite. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
There you go. There's only a couple more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards?
We are not.
Yes, of course we're not. And the other thing is to say goodbye. I'm not a wizard. Maybe. So it's a goodbye from Pete. Say goodbye, Pete.
Goodbye, Pete.
Yes. And it's a goodbye for goodbye.
That's
from
a rite
me.
of passage, that is now too. Actually,
it has to be. Folk, folk that don't say that nowadays, I just say, "Well, you obviously don't listen to the show, did you?"
Yes.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe. Roll 6s. Make something awful. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.